Brothers and sisters, we made it. So we're gonna run this back. And as it says, you know, permanent free agent. That's the truest thing I could say that this is about. And I want to share something with everybody real quick before we get too far into this, because this does mean a lot to me. So on my last video, they did some really awkward things where they kind of like interrupted the feed. The video itself was only like 10 minutes. View, yes. Let's see this. There we go. No. Is that big enough? Yeah. Okay. Here we are. And let's just go over something real quick before we start all this off. So I was going to do the title in Latin just because you guys know how I am. I'm like that. You know, I'm very much myself, uniquely different. And I love being uniquely different. But as you see here, unfortunately, there is no direct Latin equivalent to a modern concept of a permanent free agent. In the sense of a professional athlete bound by a contract to a specific team or free to sign with any team. But that wasn't what I was talking about, y'all. But we're going to read some of these things that it says. And in Latin, the term liber means free, unrestricted, unimpeded. It could describe someone not bound by obligations, restrictions, such as a contract. Agens, the Latin word or latter noun, agentem, refers to something capable of producing an effect or a person authorized to act for another. At perpetuum remanentium, which is meaning to remain forever. Though not directly related to a free agent, it could describe the lack of permanent contract or obligation to a single entity. Pro tempore, the phrase meaning for the time being, it could be used in contrast to a permanent agent, suggesting a temporary arrangement. Now, we're not going to get all into all of these, but I just need y'all to understand. Agens liber perpetuus, right? This could mean permanent free agent. Now, we're going to go to this next page because I already did. Now, this is what happened when I went back from the images earlier. I went to look at the images, and it brought up something totally different. And I wanted y'all to see what I saw. So before I go into this, once again, this is not a singular faceted thought or process. And when y'all seen the picture of the no nuclear weapons past here, right on, like it'll go into the nukes in a little bit. But first, we got to work our way up. We got to work our way into this whole thing. Again, permanent free agent is a modern concept primarily used in sports. It refers to not under contract, blah, blah, blah. This concept with specific rules, regulations, blah, 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 did not exist in ancient Roman society. I need y'all to understand. They're saying that at the time when you would have thought of entertainment or blood sport, whatever, there was no agents for anybody. Nobody had an agent. You did it yourself. Therefore, I direct Latin translation for permanent free agents in sports or similar modern concept does not exist. That means that whenever you did something back in the day, you did it on your own. And that's what I'm trying to break down right now, is that we're in an earth full of permanent free agents. Don't worry. No matter how under contract they may seem to be, they're all permanent free agents. Because at any time, they can cut you loose and you're free to go. Now, I'm going to go into slavery in a little bit and talk about that. Autonomous perpetuus translates to permanent autonomous person. This is Greek, though. That's the Greek derived, not the Roman derived. I need y'all to understand the difference in the two cultures is enough to where if I say it one way, it might actually be interpreted differently the other way. The English language does not have depth. It has range, but it doesn't have depth. And by that, me encanta, right? Right? Means I love, right? Right? But mi amor is my love, but that's a different context of love. One is an objectified love, and one is an intimate, could be objectified, but it's a more intimate thing. Like the way you love a hamburger is not the way you love your mama, as it was put to me. Independens perpetuus. This means permanent independent person, using the Latin word for independent. Now, we don't know if that's Greek, Roman, or both. Semper liber homo. This means always free man and conveys continuous freedom. I'm going to stop sharing now. I think I've got that point. I didn't do a title that was in that range, even though I wanted to, because what I'm trying to express is not a sport thing. It's a life thing. So when I say permanent free agent, job security is like an illusion. You only have the job for as long as you have it. And I don't mean like you being a good worker. I'm talking about like just the other day, I went to a spot that I had been going to for a little while, come to find out that they shut down. Now, I was like, damn, because it was actually kind of a solid little spot I used to like to eat at. Now, I don't know what happened. They were doing okay. From the surface, it looked like they were doing okay. So I don't know what the issue was, right? I don't know if it was just, improper use of finances, some eminent domain stuff going on, whatever. But the fact remains is that job security is an illusion. You only have the work as long as you have it. So in essence, in America, you are a permanent free agent. They don't practice what I would call obtuse slavery anymore. Not in this land, not the way that you just, if it was obtuse, they'd still be able to call you a nigga and beat you on your back. Right on? It's not that dilapidated anymore. It's still wickedness. It's still trite, malicious, malevolent, nefarious energy that they put out for sure. But it's different. And each person today, right, doesn't realize you are a permanent free agent. See, what they want to do is take up the best years of your life. So that way, if you decided to move on, you're too young to comfortably learn another skill and do so. I live in what's called an at-will state, meaning at will, you or the employer can terminate employment. I go to work with the wild hair up my butt. Guess what? I can just quit right then and there. I don't have to give them a reason. I don't have to say, you know what? The females in here always sexually harassing me. Dudes always hating on me. Right on. I don't have to go through all that. I can just quit. But I don't do that at jobs. But I'm just saying, if I wanted to, in the state's work environment, I have that choice. So when I say what I'm saying, just realize, you could work somewhere for 20 years, 30 years. And I feel for those people the most. You started working somewhere where you were 18 years old, 19 years old, and now you're going on 50 and the place is going belly up. It happens it's been happening every day for the last almost 20 years in this country, right on, where somebody's seemingly regular lifestyle is turned all the way upside down. Now, when you work for a mega conglomerate, job security is not as fickle, but it is still as fragile. Can you hear me? Because any little thing could make them respond to where you're an unfortunate casualty. I got a cousin that works at this electricity company or power. I don't know, power, whatever you want to call it, utility company, right? But it's out there in the Midwest, and because the way that it's set up out there, the way that the storms have been for the last 8 years, job security has been bombed because they've been getting tornadoes when you don't normally get them. So it's not like it's with her line of work right now. There has been no hiccups in work. You feel what I'm saying? Right now, I'm looking for a little bit of something, but there's no. What I do for a living is never going out. It's not going out of style until the earth is over. You feel what I'm saying? Like until the end, it's not done. So people will always not know until they're in the situation. You are a permanent free agent because you have to act on your own volition. Check this out. If all the skills you have, right? And I'm gonna just throw it out there like this, because the sports dudes are the easiest ones to pick on. They are. And don't worry, this will go to the nukes eventually. We'll work our way until all. We got to slowly get there, because you played me last time, and decided that they would do something nefarious, wicked, evil, and trite with the feed, where 9 minutes in, 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in, it's disrupting, and I go for an hour, and each video would show the time for it properly, but they're not properly load up. Again, back to the real message. Everybody's a permanent free agent. These guys who play sports and blow off all their money show you that they're not owed anything. And let's just say it like this, because I want to say in the NFL, it's like 5 seasons you have to play, or 10 seasons, and then I forget in the NBA how many seasons it is, and then you get the insurance forever. It might just be 1 season, and then you're good to go. The NBA is structured differently than the NFL. But in order to get like a retirement from the NFL, where where you get a pension, I want to say you got to play like 10 years. It's something ridiculous. Now, you might be a Super Bowl winner, right on, multiple times, but only played like 3 or 4 years. You just so happen to be around at the right time. It happens. Then dudes retire and they become regular people. Now, because football might have been all they knew up until that point, their transitional stage might be a little more rocky, right on, than a regular person. Because regular people learn more skills naturally. It's a part of life. You don't always have the money to afford everything. So certain things you learn to do yourself. That's quite natural, right on? When you're famous, you can pay somebody to do, not famous, when you're rich and well off, because famous people might not have no money. When you have money, you can pay somebody else to do the work for you as long as it's feasible and it's tenable. You see what I'm saying? But when you're a regular person like myself, I can't pay for certain services. I have to do it myself, because I'm going to lose too much in the long run paying for those services. So again, people don't realize how to, how just, like the sports people, they're the most obvious ones, but you as a person is no different. Again, a job will take up the best years of your life. The very best years of your life, they'll absorb. And you don't really get back what you put into it. You don't. Dude, I have been to so many places, okay? I've been places where in a matter of 6 months, they made millions of, listen, I've been places where in a matter of 6 months, they've made millions of dollars. I don't have to pocket watch if you're giving me the figures every day. If somebody's like, man, today we made 30,000, today we made 28,000, today we made 20,000, 15,000, 30,000. I mean, I'm just giving y'all the like when somebody's telling you this, you're doing the math in your own head. Like, bruh, you mean to tell me last month because we made 1.2 million, we made 1.5 million? I'm the dude doing the math in my head. Right on. So people don't even realize, like, you don't even get out of the job what you put into it. You do not. You do not. It's not on equal footing. So I would rather be consciously knowing I'm a permanent free agent than be somebody who can find out the hard way you're nothing but a permanent free agent. Microsoft just laid off some 1,000 employees out here in this state alone, Washington, right? Gave it 1,100 jobs, okay? They axed them, bang, didn't think nothing about it. For all those people who live in those areas who don't have a universal skill set, they can't just go and apply their trade and apply their skills to another trade. They can't. It's not how it works. You're a programmer. You program. You know code. You're filthy at it. This is what you do. You worked your whole life to be a dope-ass programmer. You don't want to go do anything else. But right now, nobody's hiring for anything else. So you might have to do something that you wouldn't normally do to make money. It'll be way less money, but it'll still be money and it'll keep you afloat. I'm trying to tell y'all, the skill sets don't always translate. Right. This is why construction workers don't like not having another job going into the winter. I'm telling you, I know people who do construction. They always want a job in the winter. Always. They want one that's either going into the winter or spanning most of the winter. Right on? I'm talking about the hardcore dudes who understand, like, I spent too many months, too many 3, 4, 5 month periods not working. I need that money. Yeah, I made great money when I was working and I was able to nest egg a little bit, but I need money all the time. Right. The mentality has to be there. Now, culturally, on this earth, as we get ready to transition to this next part of the understanding, because that way people got that I've broken it down, or I've broken into it at least, we have what I would call cultural permanent free agents, right? It's not just one thing, but we're going to shift it to the cultural part, right? There are groups of individuals who on this earth cannot live with themselves. And by that, I mean, even though God has not come back and struck them down and put them in the place that they're going to be put, even though they still live in the most abominable, hateful means, let us use the confused Black American, my people, our people, us, for a moment. The confused Black American tells you that they're the Egyptian, the Hebrew, they were Greeks, they were Romans, they're even the original Asian people. Then they go on to tell you that they're original Native Americans. Come on, listen, see, right, listen. You want to be everybody. Y'all are permanent free agents. See what I'm saying? Because you're not everybody, number one, but because you want to be everybody, you see what I'm saying? You don't have any bounds to anything. And this is why we have a lot of the things that are going on right now, y'all. Because you got a lot of people, Black people, who were cultural free agents, you know what I'm saying? Permanent free agents. Right. Because when it suits them, they're Native. When it suits them, they're Egyptian. When it suits them, they might be Hebrews. Right on? When it suits them, they're a Black Asiatic. When it suits them. See what I'm saying? Now, there's people who are like myself who understand that there are assimilated, amalgamated groups within those assimilated, amalgamated groups, there are individuals who do not have a clear-cut background in which they can choose to seed from. And in that case, these people are confused. In other cases, you have people who understand that they come from a assimilated, amalgamated background, and they choose out of solidarity their identity, but do not hide from you their genealogy, a person like myself. Right on? So in solidarity, I choose to be a Hebrew. I don't say Black Hebrew because that's obnoxious and that's an oxymoron. Like, you can't be one without being the other. You follow what I'm saying? That's why I don't say Black Hebrew Israelites unless I'm talking about them in a objective point of view. Right on? But me just speaking, I never say Black Hebrews. I never say Black Israelites. I just say Israelites, and I say Hebrews. And from my tongue, the implication is that they're already Afro people. So I'm not a permanent free agent for the culture, even if I'm open enough to say that there's players from this team, players from this team, and players from this team, right on, that are all in my background. Right. See what I'm saying? But a lot of Black people have a hard time just picking and choosing. They can't just say this is who I am. Because if they did, they would have to stand by those tenets. You cannot mix doctrine and expect for there to be no confusion. When I heard the brother the other day talk about the so-called Prophet Muhammad, I understood then why he was in the situation that he was in, because he is mixing doctrine. I don't mix doctrines. I can be aware of something, and I'm still not going to mix that doctrine with my doctrine, with what I believe. I can totally be, again, if cultures were meant to be the same, if everybody was the same, it wouldn't be an issue. Right. The Holy Bible and the so-called Holy Quran are two completely different works. They were fabricated at different times, if you will, because people think the Bible's a lie. So one lie was told before the other one. Right. Right. And then the lie, that's the new lie, is based on the old lie. They're saying that the old lie got it wrong, though. Some of those lies, they didn't get it right. Let's fix those lies. Again, because they're cultural, permanent, free agents, they do these things. You have to put the word before that permanent free agent so that way you can understand what they are. Right. Right. Because it's not me it applies to. It's not you it applies to. It's whoever it applies to with whatever that thing is. My brother Andre sent me this thing in a little baby Rambo, the AI, right? And what was funny about it was Rambo's going off, and he's like, he was like, I was in control of millions of dollars of equipment. Now here I can't even hold a job. And I'm like, boy, I loved it. Because I feel the pain. I've been in charge of equipment. Right on? That's worth a lot of money. I know what it's like. But you have to know who you are so that way you don't step out of line. You feel what I'm saying? I don't get outside myself. I'm not going to run back to the streets and be a free agent in the streets just because I can. That's an option at all times for me. Once again, I'm a permanent free agent on the earth. I'm aware of this. I'm not like the rest of everybody else who's like, I'm going to work the rest of my life at this job. And it's like, yeah, because you really don't want God to come back because you really don't want to be judged in your life because you're a coward. Again, permanent free agent for any doctrine that'll fit for them. Anything that makes it easy for them. as long as they don't have to suffer. Right on? You see what I'm saying? These cultural permanent free agents will amalgamate anything to make themselves comfortable because they are just that, cowards. I'm not looking for comfort amongst my enemies. I'm not looking for friends. Right. I'm not even seeking out camaraderie. It's nice to have it when it's there. That's not what I'm on this earth for. You follow what I'm saying? The purpose that God gave me is not to try to be as comfortable as I can in Babylon. It's to give my people the message that they may understand just a little bit of what's really going on around them. See, because they've been somewhere for so long again, they don't believe they're a free agent. What happens when somebody gets let go from a team? Team doesn't re-sign them. Unrestricted free agent, right? Okay. Don't y'all think that's funny? So a piece of paper is what keeps from being a free agent. Do y'all believe that? Do you believe that ink and paper is that powerful that it can make you an agent? From agent to contractee, obligated contractee. But then all in the same breath, the white man never honored any of the things that he signed with the free agents that were the natives, with those that you consider the 5 civilized tribes. Right. Favorable treaties at that, some of which they did not honor, many of which they did not honor. You know, with certain native tribes, every single treaty, every single armistice, whatever you want to call it, that was signed, do you know that they violated every single one of them for certain tribes? They literally murdered people out of existence. And they want you to believe that, again, a piece of paper means something. So I ask you, how are you not a permanent free agent? If the company you work for goes belly up tomorrow, right, you're a permanent free agent just like that. Again, see, unless of what you do, this is the only way not to be a permanent free agent, y'all. At least to be in rebellion of being a permanent free agent is to own and operate what it is that you are doing. It's the only way. Other than that, the threat of removal, the threat of termination, the threat of expulsion will be ever present. You cannot escape that because it's, again, if I'm the one who's telling you what your schedule is, I'm the one who gives you all the overtime, right? So that means that if I decide not to give you that, you don't have it. So unless you produce that yourself, you are indeed a permanent free agent. You have to be. It's not a matter of desire. This is coming from a person who's worked a crap ton of jobs, y'all. So my perspective is from the perspective of somebody that would have been loyal to any one of the places that I worked at. It's not like I just stopped showing up. Right. You get my point? Right. They're like, but it's you. Okay, it might be me. I might be the problem. But it might be because I'm inherently aware that I'm in an at-will state. Because they want to try to control that over me. Again, if I tell you you get these hours, if I make your schedule, right? That's like trying to play God with you. People don't understand, so therefore they get scared. But our people don't recognize that no different than you picking and choosing the side is no different. Right. See what I'm saying? I don't hop all over the place with doctrine. I just stay with one doctrine. So in the end, I'm gonna be rewarded for that. Y'all niggas who got all these Fruit Loop doctrines, okay? Y'all gonna be the ones in trouble because y'all the ones mixing doctrine. Y'all the ones taking the doctrines of demons and devils, okay? Word. And the work of their tenants. I'll give you a prime example. If Allah has many names and my God only has one, how are they the same? Tell me. How are they the same? How is there any sort of semblance of them being the same? Riddle me that, Batman and Batwoman, because I want to know. See, in your permanent free agency, you've mixed up doctrines. Oh, this is deep. While you maintain one job now, ooh, see where this is going? Don't worry, I'm about to get to the nuclear shit here in a second. See, y'all mixed up doctrines. Now, you maintain the bullshit. I'll give you that. You worked at GM for the last 25 years. You held it down. You did that. Good for you. Pat yourself on the back. But you mix doctrines. And you wonder why, spiritually, you have no understanding. You wonder why, mentally, you're stunted. Right on? See, and your physical well-being might not be what you want it to be. Because God said, that's right. You're a mixture of doctrine. Just because I know that a basic tenet of Buddhism is that no life goes without suffering does not mean that I accept Buddhism. That just means that that tenet, come on, is applicable, not to one life, but to all. But when you tell me something along the lines of to think nothing of fables and endless genealogies that minister questions rather than godly edifying, which is in faith, so do. Now understand, and this is right here, that's out the Bible, right? That's doctrine. But if I tell you another doctrine or another piece of a doctrine aligned with other tenets, that think not I come to abolish the laws or the prophets, I am not come to destroy yet to fulfill. That means that no matter what anybody says, following this point of this doctrine, if it does not match up, they're not in conjunction with that. Can you hear me? It's not congruent. It's not concurrent. It's not even consecutive, like following right behind it. It's nothing. So when you can't parallel what you're saying to all other again, I'm a loyalist, right? Since I discovered, because he's always been there. But since I discovered my understanding of the Most High God, right? There's been no confusion. Not doctrine-wise, right on? I haven't been confounded because of doctrines. Now I might be confounded as to why do all these places do the same thing, even if I try to do something different. So I'm not insane because I'm changing my approach. It's just the same result. So there's got to be some, maybe it's just me, just my actual person. I'm okay with that. But you have people out here who will tell you something like eating pork and shrimp is just fine. Right on? Eating the blood of animals is just fine. Word? You see what I'm saying? Their doctrine does not match anything. Again, because they are permanent, because they are cultural permanent free agents, they will do what best suits them at that time in that moment. They don't have, right. They're not going to stick to their guns on anything. And this is what I'm trying to say about the work is that people don't recognize having a job doesn't mean you will stick to your guns. They're two different things. But I know how a person is just by listening to the doctrines that they either practice or that they're amicable towards. They're pliable towards. Is anybody other than me aware that we're about to read a little article here in a little second. I've read it before, but we're gonna pick up some stuff again. Is anybody other than me aware that there is not one country, no, not a one, where the Turk has not been that has nukes? So what I'm trying to say is that if they have nukes, the Turk has been there. For a fact. And they're a part of the cultural permanent free agents, because the Turks are the next group of individuals I want to talk about who want to be everybody. See, unlike the Anglo, who has been proven that there's no way possible that they're the people out the Bible, for sure, not the first created people. If your skin is not a certain tone of brown, it is hard for me to believe that you are seeded from the first people. Then if you lack other features, it's hard for me to believe that. I mean, whatever they want to say. Me and my boy Steven, me and my bro was having we had an epic conversation about this maybe about a week and a half ago. And he was talking about how, these individuals he was working with, he was explaining to these dudes how I guess one of the guys was trying to say that everybody's pretty much the same, and that everybody comes from the earth. And then Steven had to go on to kind of correct dude and was like, hey, bro, but white clay is predominantly found in North America. You wouldn't find it in that region of the earth. So, right. That couldn't have been y'all. Because Steven had asked him, well, what color is the dirt? And then the dude tried to say, well, soil comes in all different kind of colors. But the thing is, clay doesn't produce like regular soil does. Everybody knows this. It's overly moist. So, again, I'm saying this as a person with understanding to the matter, not somebody that's confused. That little link right there, I'm gonna pull up some information. I'm gonna share this page just for half a moment. It'll be on y'all to go and divulge this information to yourselves later. Yeah, you'll have to show it to yourself, uncover it to yourself later. Let me see. And this is Australians studying abroad, right? This is something from some Australian people. Again, it's always better when somebody doesn't have a dog in the fight. Now, we're just going to read this very first part. Okay? We're going to read the very first part. And then we're going to see how everybody feel like, because I need y'all to understand that these are permanent cultural free agents. Whatever fits them, they'll do. Make sure that's big enough. There we go. That looks big enough. Now look, the ancient Turks worshiped the elements of nature and believed that they had been created by the sky god. They called this creator Tingri and offered him animal sacrifices, mostly horses, cows, and sheep, as befitted semi-nomadic pastoralists. Tingri cult was widespread among the Turkic people of Inner Asia, and traces of its religious traditions lived long after they left their old homeland and moved to the Central Asian and Pontic steppes and later to the Middle East. I'm just telling y'all, they're not even original people, but they're just letting y'all know this is what we know about. The Turk religious system also accommodated shamanistic practices and the cults of lesser deities, among them a female deity of protection and fertility. Living in mountainous regions, ancient Turks gave due respect to the mountains and regarded them as sacred. Turk ancestor worship, what? Turk ancestor worship required that the Khagan himself lead an annual procession of the nobles bearing sacrifices to the ancestral caves. In the course of their history and migrations, Turkic peoples came into contact with several other religions. Mazdaism, Zurvanism had a following in the Turk Khaganate, while Buddhism won the favor of numerous rulers, including the great Bilge Khagan of the Second Khaganate. The Uyghurs, under Sogdian influence, officially converted to Maccanism in the mid-8th century, while the Khazar state ruled by an aristocracy that professed Judaism. It was this heterogeneous heritage upon which Islam was gradually superimposed from the 8th century. I'm not going to read it, but we'll read that headline. The conversion of Turks to Islam. Stop right there. You go into that yourself while I get onto this next part real quick and just break down how those people, those same individuals I just read about, everywhere there are nukes, they have been. Everywhere. That's a fact, a whole fact, and nothing but a fact. So when people be wondering, damn, why do this Asian dude look like an Arab Turk dude? It's probably because he is an Arab Turk dude masquerading as an Asian. Right. I've already broke this stuff down years ago, but I'm gonna do another video where I show the Khanate, the Mongoloid Khans, the Turkic Khans, the limited information they have about Black Khans, right? I'm gonna break it all down, and just so that way people can see, like, yo, these individuals, I always ask people, how do you know something if you weren't there? All we know is what we can see, right? So if you show me that people in Turkmenistan don't look like the people in Afghanistan all the way, and the people in Turkmenistan look more like pale skin, white skin, pink skin Chinese people who speak a Russian or, right, Slavic sounding language, get what I'm saying though? This is true. Again, these individuals, because people allow for this, y'all heard it, heterogeneous. It means different in so many words. Because they had all these different religions, okay, in their sphere of influence, none of which they originated, none of which they're saying that they started none of them. But look who's ahead of the religion of Islam now. The Turks. Now they're saying that they didn't create it. They're saying that they converted. My question would be then, to all my educated people, who started it? And if it really was the Ethiopians who started Islam, the greater question is why is there so many Ethiopian Christians and Ethiopian people who claim to be Jews? Again, the affinity of all these different individuals to be cultural permanent free agents. How they say in Latin again? See that word? Independens perpetuus, permanent independent person. Oh, I like that one. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one. That's what they do. Right. Because they're able to graft themselves all the way in and everything. They already have. You guys do realize I didn't get into the part where they created the Punjab culture. I don't even go into that. Why would I get carried away into that? Right. These are the same big-nosed Turks who are the fathers to those Turk-looking dudes in Italy who flooded down into Ethiopia. Right. And Morocco. Right. And Algeria. Right. Now y'all starting to understand. These are the same big-nosed, hook-nosed Turks whose children are all in Libya. Yeah, all in Sudan. Yeah. Now you guys starting to get it. Well, I'm going to bow tie it up and wrap it up for you. Now, in my last video, there was a point in a portion where I had began to speak on the genetic material in which the original giants, the children of the fathers, who are indeed our enemies. I asked myself, I said, and I had pontificated out loud. I had spoke many different things, but one of the things I had spoke on was the fact that the giants, right, their bodies, what were their bodies made up of? And I pontificated that yellow cake and uranium and plutonium must have been found within their bodies. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is why it's in different regions of the earth. It has different amounts of collections of it. This is why most of it you find in Africa, because that's where most of the intense battles went down, where most of the giants killed each other. And then you got to understand, the Great Flood caused for all the water, for all the earth to become extremely malleable, right? So their bodies sink into the earth. And over the course of thousands of years, they biodegrade down, become a part of the actual environment in a sense. And I'm talking about, because people don't realize yellow cake is a metal. Right on? It's in a different form, but it is a metal. So when I'm speaking to what I'm speaking about, and I'm speaking about the fathers of these Turks right now, I'm speaking about the fathers of the Anglos as well, and the fathers of a couple other splinter groups who people might not believe they belong to these groups. But my point is this: because they have been permanent cultural free agents, these individuals have permeated the land with devices of mass destruction. They couldn't have done it any other way. Right. A part of them is saying that they're Buddhist, so they didn't fight in the crusade. So that part of them didn't fight in the crusade. The other part of them is saying that they're Muslims. So, that part fought in the crusade. The other part of them is saying that they're Jewish. And that part also stood out of the crusade. Right. So, and then they were fighting against their Frankic cousins. You follow what I'm saying? And the Franks, too, believe what? They come from a sky god. Named what? Wotan. Come on. Let's talk about it, y'all. They believe that. Yeah. Is it just by chance that these same individuals they all claim to be Romans, they all claim to be Greeks, yet none of them speak true Latin? Right on? None of them. Not one of them. They don't speak Hebrew, they speak Yiddish. And what they call Aramaic is not Aramaic. That's why there's so many discrepancies. They don't speak Arabic, they speak in some kind of caveman tongue. Because of them, there are nukes over the entire earth. Yeah, those permanent free agents that you call Turks. I've never been anti-Semitic. I've been anti-Turk. You can say that. You can say I'm bigoted towards Turks, and you wouldn't be wrong at all. I don't have any love for them. They all need to get smashed on. Every last one of them. Ain't no good Turks on this earth. I have yet to meet one. That tastes good to say that. Oh, that tastes so good to say that. I've been waiting to say that for a long time. Same dumbass Turks talk about death to Israel are the same people. They're genetically the same people, y'all. It's no different than a light brown Punjab Turk Indian dude talking smack, but it's like, bro, this dude's a Turk. Right. He's right. He's not qualified to speak because they don't even have a real culture. They come from people who eat horses, y'all. Come on, man. Does that sound? That don't sound, listen. That don't sound like my people. Does that sound like y'all people? That's yes or no question. Answer that to yourself. That don't sound like nobody I know. However, we had to work our way into that so where people didn't think I was just being malicious. Yellow cake, plutonium, uranium was probably in the bodies of the Nephilim, the original real Nephilim. A 40-foot tall thing is not a Nephilim, it's a Rephaim. The Nephilim are pre-flood. The Rephaim are post-flood. They're completely different things. One is the catalyst or the precursor to the other. You know, there's a bunch of the Rephaim headed, you know, Nephilim blooded for sure. Got a little Nephilim blood, but they're still Rephaim. They ain't the real thing, y'all. They ain't the real thing. Yeah, he's only 20 feet tall. He's not a Nephilim. Okay. I mean, bigger than us for sure. Not a Nephilim though. And that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. Is you're dealing with things that have purposely muddied the water of understanding. If the Turks had just stayed Turks for all these years, you would understand who they are. So they've played every side. They've played every side, but they've kept it a family affair. And they've kept all the lands that they've stolen. You've never asked yourself why there's never been a Turk president? Come on, man. Do the math. Because the Anglos know who they are. And I told y'all, right, the Crusades. What side do you think Spain was on during the Crusade? Yeah, they were those wishy-washy bastards, just like the Italians. Yeah. Because half their bloodline, at least, is Turkish or Turkic. And the other half is arguably Frankic. These are facts. People be terrified about the truth. See, they don't have the vision. They don't even understand. They be saying things, but don't be knowing shit. Everything I'm saying to you is undoubtable. Yeah. Yeah. So let me go ahead and give y'all another understanding. The people who calling themselves Latinos are Spanish Turks. How could a Turk ever be a Latin? Again, they don't speak Latin. They speak Spanish. Spain was a colony of Rome. Yeah, for the silver mines. Y'all didn't know? Anyway, pushing past that. The colony becomes colonizers. Going under the guise. Now, again, a lot of people don't know this. The same dudes who were claiming to be Roman Jews were Turks and Franks, because they are Romans who took over, right? Yeah. The Sephardic or the Spanish Jew, right? Thank you. Spaniards are what? Turks. The Ashkenazi, who claim to be children of Ashkenaz, which they are not. Turks. Come on. Let's break it down. All those dudes are Turks. The very few of them are not exactly Franco-Turks. Like a dude like Daniel Craig. You know, he claims to be Jewish. If in case y'all didn't know. Right. Blonde hair, blue eye. Franco-Turk. Yeah. No doubt. Nope, not a doubt in my mind. So when I see things like that, I have to tell myself, like, yeah, these dudes don't get it. You know? So I'm talking about the general population of black people. It wouldn't be the first time, again, they came to eat from the plate and took something off the plate and didn't even realize what they was taking. You feel what I'm saying? You know, I'm into fine dining. But other people don't realize that one form of fine dining is not fine dining somewhere else. Right. So my version of fine dining is everything well cooked thoroughly, soft to the touch, scrumptious, pleasing and pleasant. Yes. Delectable morsels. Other people want it half cooked. Hell, they want it raw, not cooked at all. And we're not talking about vegetables. And to them, that's a delicacy. Who am I to, even if I'm repulsed by that, who am I, once again, to change that for them? So if my people, who are my people, not those who claim it in name only, for there are those who claim to be the people, but are only the people in name only. Right. Let it sink in. In name only, you're the people. But in actions, genetic strata, nope. See what I'm saying? But because they can be a cultural permanent free agent, their mouth can say anything. Right. I needed to use a title that was not all the way offensive, because nobody should really be offended by the fact that they are indeed a permanent free agent. See, again, they're taking the best of years from you. You're not becoming a well-rounded anything. You haven't taken the time that's been spared on your hands to increase your abilities, to increase your knowledge. That's a personal thing. But because people are comfortable, again, they don't see the very nature of what it is. Now, let me touch on slavery for the last part, because I earlier I said I was going to touch on it. No slave was a free agent. No, not one. Even when they got free, they weren't a free agent because they had to employ themselves somewhere where they could be. Now, sure, you don't go to sundown towns and little hokey poke, honky tonk little small 400 people villages in America or anywhere on this earth. However, your ability to gad about, your agency to do so is there. Notice I never said that you were living in freedom. I'm not implying that. I'm not implying freedom when I say permanent free agent. I'm implying something totally different. That you don't have any real security in this nation. It doesn't exist. It's an illusion. There's a spot I like to go in Tacoma called Freight House Square. And it has a bunch of eateries. It's older. It's a little rundown, but I enjoy it. The city now is proposing that they use eminent domain. Okay. Not because it's not profitable, but because they feel like they can use it for a greater purpose. Can you hear me? Not because they don't think it's not profitable, but because they think that they can use it for a greater purpose. If they were to have a war tomorrow, how old do you think the oldest man would be able to be before they said, no, this is too old? Or would they just make exceptions on a case-by-case basis? For the ancestors that were let go out of hardcore bondage and set free into the wilderness of uncertainty, all those people who overnight, who by contractual obligation, whether it was fulfilled or not, but by contractual obligation, because I am property of said such person, my general care is their responsibility. Well, because now I am my own agent. I represent myself now in a permanent fashion. All these things, all provender is now dependent upon myself. All I'm saying is that slaves who were let go at an older age had a much more different, if not difficult, experience all out than those who were younger than them. Right. And on plantations, there was room for the attaining and obtaining of understanding. Otherwise, you can't explain the genius that slaves exhibited throughout generations and generations of forced bondage and servitude. The difference is that they weren't, once again, until they became permanent free agents. Like, for example, when people talk about house niggas versus field niggas, again, if your ass live in four walls, you are a house nigga. I don't give a fuck what you think. You are a house nigga. If you think that's not true, then pack it up and move your bitch ass outside to the field, nigga. Because that's what field niggas did. That all field niggas didn't have living quarters now. Some of them had general living quarters, but all of them didn't live. Come on. Right. All field niggas didn't live in the field like that. But for the ones who did, since you claim to be field niggas so badly, get your ass up out your apartment, your house, your Airbnb, your condo, right? You know what I'm saying? Your high rise, whatever. Your low rise, nigga, get your ass up out and go sleep outside tonight. for the rest of your days. Since you's a field nigga. Fucking try to lie to me. Again, there were no permanent free agents back then. Because for all those niggas who glorify and clap on the back of a fucking runaway slave, that's no different than a nigga running away from his responsibilities today. You wouldn't say if a nigga made 4 or 5 babies and ran off and said, I'm going to go somewhere else and do the same thing and run off again, you wouldn't call that shit honorable. These niggas cannot name 10 major contributions that runaway slaves made to black people's lives. They can't name 10. Fuck it, they can't name 5. The best black men were not cowards and didn't tuck tail and run at the first sign of adversity. Yeah, the first permanent free agents showed their genius to the earth. So much so that the whole earth robbed them of everything they showed them. Everything. Not one thing was left to them. Not even their reputation. They took that from them too. Come on. And got the nerve, the noive, to try to tell me about a field nigga, house nigga concept. You got motherfuckers living in mansions talking about field niggas and house niggas, y'all. Think about what I'm saying. These dudes are living in mansions. Nigga couldn't tell you the last time he had to wear a pair of dirty drawers, right? Because he just so down bad on the streets, out here in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't tell you the last time. However, they got the nerve, audacity, unmitigated gall to tell you about who the real of the real of the real are. Yet they are, again, these dudes are cultural permanent free agents because whatever suits them and benefits them is what they ride with. I tip my hat to the brothers and sisters who say we're Native Americans and they ain't gonna back off of that. And look, even though they sound delusional and crazy by saying what slave ships, because by that logic, what ships brought the white man here then? Right. Like Dre would always say, bro, so how the white man get here? So he was always here too, huh? See, once again, their logic is so flawed, but hey, that's okay. They stand by that flawed logic. They stand by it. 10 toes down for the shit. I can't knock that all the way. It's more honorable that they would rather be wrong and not switch it up and not sound confused or not try to mix their doctrine with something. Right. It's the same thing with me. I'm not going to change what I'm doing so that way I could get a larger audience. I don't need more people. I don't want a whole bunch of black people who I know aren't even my people for real genetically listening to me. I don't want them to get nothing off me. I don't want them to gain nothing from me. Right on? The Christ said that I'm not the Christ. The Christ said he didn't want the wicked to repent lest their sins be forgiven. So I'm not in the business of searching out the wicked. Right on? I'm not. Lost does not translate to wicked. So for my people who are lost, I'm here for them. But I'm not here for the mixing of doctrine. If you want to say that Muhammad is a prophet, you do that. If Allah is your God, you do that. But you don't get to superimpose that upon me. My God is the creator of heaven and earth, the God of Moses. Right. Muslims talk sideways about Moses. For any black person who claims to believe in the scripture and then believes that Muslims have any, once again, the religion itself wasn't born until this dude named Muhammad was born. And that's not till at least 535 BC. Okay, well, if the Christ is dead 100 BC, 60 BC, some shit like that, Thank you. Thank you. It makes no sense. You're talking about hundreds of years, 500, 600 years span. Right. That's a long time. That's not like the 12 years where Paul waited for the Messiah to be dead and then popped up Shaul, right? Shaul of Tarsus popped up talking nonsense and craziness. Think about what I'm saying. There are more black people right now who are doing okay. They're doing all right. Whether they got to get it from the government, whether they're working, whether it's both. Right? They're doing okay. Way better compared than their ancestors were doing. If you just want to compare that, because that's the only comparison I'll ever care about is my people. I don't give a fuck what somebody else's people did, because they didn't get me on the earth. Right. Your people didn't procreate me onto the earth, nigga. My people did. So I'm not worried about somebody else's history. Good for them. 2 thumbs up for them. Right on? But that's how everybody should act. But anybody else's shit. Who you come from should matter. And you sticking to your guns should matter. You know what happened to black people? They stopped going to church. They stopped going to church. They started putting all these, once again, they started mixing doctrine. You know why Philadelphia is so dangerous? Because half the dudes in Philly are Muslims. Right on? And that religion itself is so volatile. Right on? Because you never know to what degree one of them dudes takes law. Right. Got a bunch of so-called sovereign citizens all over there on the East Coast. They're all over there. Dudes are confused, bro. Mentally ill. You being a sovereign citizen is no different than a Mexican dude waving a Mexican flag in America. It's that deep. It's that deep. And don't tell us about how your great-great-grandpappy and great-great-grandmammy was on the plantation picking cotton, tobacco, and indigo. Nigga, you're not. And your representation of them and what they went through is obviously a confusing. You've melded trends. Imagine a slave talking about, I'm a sovereign citizen. I ain't picking no cotton. Just imagine that bull. Just imagine that fuckery coming off of a slave's lips. And imagine the consequences that follow. Be real. Do you think that shit would work out well for somebody saying that back in, I don't know, 1754? You think telling Lyndon McCormick that you're not going to pick cotton because you're a sovereign citizen? You think that shit would have went over well in 1754, nigga? Right. But no, in their permanent free agency, they're able to just, again, because they do what they're supposed to do to a certain degree in the society. But in reality, they are more confused than ever. Did y'all not hear these weird ass Turk dudes or talk to their ancestors? And then yet, y'all black people who be in this country want to talk about how that's black. That's what our culture do. That's what we do. We used to talk to the ancestors. We talk to the ancestors. Well, so did these other motherfuckers. So what's so different about y'all and them? Thank you. I don't talk to no dead people. Nigga, my guy said the dead know nothing. That's where I'll leave it at. He didn't say the dead can't speak. He said the dead know nothing. Come on. Come on. Because people go to the dead seeking answers. How do they know they're dead? Even if they answer the question, how do they know they're dead? Just the complete level of arrogance and ignorance all at once. Before I roll out here in the next few minutes, I just have to get this off my chest. You know how shameful it is to hear black people talk about slavery from the point of view of, oh, on the plantation there were bootlicks and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, so again, how many days on the plantation did you spend? Oh, none. Oh, but you're just going based on what somebody else said, or you just imagining something, right? Imagine this though. Imagine that again. That a lot of those black people were genetically different from the very get go. And that if indeed these were black natives, all those black natives weren't genetically the same. So when you brought together, I don't know, these Afro slaves, and then these Afro slaves, and then these for sure not Afro slaves, all of a similar hue, some darker, some lighter, and then you mix them all together again. Y'all don't think that that blood mixing caused for some of the foolery that they be talking about? I always laugh. They don't even know what it means to be peaceable. They think not going out and thrashing somebody just because they feel like it is being peaceable. My people, in your permanent free agency, learn to recognize two things. Number one, you are a free agent. You were not bound by it. Whatever contractual obligations you, once again, man wasn't meant to use ink and paper. You're not meant to confirm your own goodwill. A contract is a form of someone's goodwill. Yes, yes, it is. Because there's supposed to be there's obligatory circumstances that should or are supposed to be met. That alone makes it something different. However, number two, don't ever forget where you are. Some of you have gotten so comfortable in America. You think that these people being deported helps your case or your cause any? Doesn't do anything for you. It neither hurts nor helps. The damage has been done, and some of it is completely fucking permanent. So it won't change ever. Brothers and sisters, I have been a permanent free agent my whole life. It took me till a few days ago, in a conversation just 2 days ago, to really like put it all together in my mind. Everybody is a permanent free agent. They just don't think they are. Yeah. Again, if you die, are you contractually obligated to doing anything? Once you're dead, you're dead. Can't. Again, so you are in charge of your own life. You are. You don't owe a company that can go belly up your loyalty or your best years out of your youth. Right. So you wait till you're. They say you're getting in your 60s and 70s, your golden years. That's bullshit. Your life should be based on a certain level of toil. And if you toil so much, you should have so much provender. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. So because it doesn't, I'm encouraging all my brothers and sisters to do the wise thing and to play the game like a permanent free agent. Oh, if it's not a game, then why people get played then? Huh? You know, I've been had, hoodwinked, hornswoggled, okay? Yeah, all the bullshit. Don't be that. Don't be none of that. But I'm serious though. You are responsible for choosing the path that you're going to be on. And if you're confusing doctrines right now, you can be in you could be in, again, your career, whatever you guys want to call a career. I mean, I don't believe in any of that shit. It's fake to me. It's fake. It's not real. It's not. It's all an illusion. But if you want to believe that working for somebody until you're 70, 65, you think that's the ticket? You do that. Don't get mad though. Don't get upset. Don't be bent out of shape. If and when and if, those that you've shown the ultimate level of loyalty to betray you. Wouldn't be the first time that a master sold his favorite nigga off. Wouldn't be the first time. Would not be the first time. And you got to realize, see, these days they can't just sell you up the river like that. So there's different ways of getting you. Right? They have different ways of using you. Right on. It's not the same old little tricks anymore. I'll get you to go do a job that, had we contracted it out, that'd cost us 10 grand to one person. But you're gonna do it over the course of 3 days, and we're gonna have to give you $1,000. We won. We saved $9,000, bro. Right on. If we do that 100 times in your career, come on, that's 900,000. That's just shy of $1 million that we made off of your back. And maybe paid you 100 grand worth of work for all that work. Maybe paid you 100 grand. That's how they do it. If you want to be loyal to that kind of system for the rest of your days, be my guest, people. Be my guest. But guess what, though? Your boys, this close. I'm this close to everything being where it won't matter. Right on? And because I'm a permanent free agent, wherever I decide to take up a temporary residency, if you will, it'll only be that way I can just withhold for the next handful of months until this money that's guaranteed to come. Guaranteed. Right on? Lest they blow up the earth. We got some shit on the way that's already in the works. And that's why I'm not tripping. That's why I'm telling y'all what I'm telling y'all. You feel me? Lest they blow this whole bitch up. I got some shit in the works that they can't stop. They can't do nothing about. And that's how it goes. See what I'm saying? Because I've never switched up my doctrine. Right on? Because I've never changed what I believe in to garner a larger following. I've never changed where I stand on these things. My understanding may have improved, and in the improvement of the understanding, I would tell people what my fallacy was before, so that way they don't carry on in the same ignorance that they may have learned from me. See what I'm saying? Right. But because I am a true permanent free agent and I understand it, see, people be afraid because they're not going to have their own ever. They're going to work for somebody forever. And then when that somebody thinks that they're no longer able to do the job, guess what's going to happen? They're going to move on from them. And then at whatever age, their ass is going to be a permanent free agent again. Everybody doesn't get to retire. I always laugh when I see people planning your retirement. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You have no fucking idea. You could suffer a catastrophic injury. Right on? Somebody you love could suffer a catastrophic injury. And that changed the whole course of everything. Up your finances for damn near forever. But if you love that person, then that's the sacrifice that you make for them. And that's just what it is. If you love yourself, that's just the sacrifice you make for yourself. And that's just what it is. But these things right here, people very rarely have to actually consider because they don't mind being under the dominion of someone else or something else. They don't. That's what makes them cowards, though, is because they're not willing to separate themselves from the things that make them comfortable. See, God is great. God is so great that he's like, once again, I got a cold level of understanding. I don't need to get on YouTube these days. I don't feel obligated to doing this like I did for a long time. I felt obligated, like I had to do it. And I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, actually, I don't. Actually, I've said everything that virtually needs to be said. I'm just reiterating myself. And every once in a while, I hear a superbly ignorant individual or two or three or 10 say something that just doesn't make any sense. I'm not pandering to nothing for black people. They can kiss my ass straight like that. Right on? Because I do enough. I do enough. I do enough. I do enough. So I'm not pandering to black people. They don't want to hear that drug dealers ain't shit. Fuck them. Right on? But I'm not going to confuse doctrines. I'm not going to act like the wicked and the righteous need to sit next to each other. Sinning makes you unrighteous in that moment. Being a sinner means that you are unrighteous perpetually. Perpetuity, continually. Okay? Whatever word you want to use. And longevity. Yes. Because, again, I'm not excusing the malfeasance of the people that are our people. I'm not confusing us with another group of people. I don't. Just be like, that's not the people. Ain't nothing wrong with being a stranger. Nothing. If I'm a stranger, I'm fine with that. I'm fine being a stranger to people. That doesn't even bother me. What I'm not fine with is the idea that people believe that they can exist in this realm and not have worked more. And I'm talking about, once again, I'm not talking about physical hard labor. We're talking about working towards what you believe in. True. Right on? So, these dudes who were, close to retirement age, these females who were close to retirement age, they might got themselves a little nest egg, but they don't have a continuous way to really make money. You can't afford for stocks to crash if that's where you have all your money at. I always laugh. People think money makes everything better. It doesn't. Right on? It just makes certain situations easier to approach. I'm not broke. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Right on? You know what I'm saying? I know what I'm talking about. Money does not make it better. It makes it, once again, I guess, more simple to approach sometimes. Maybe not even easier. Just makes the approach more simple. Our people have based their entire existence on how much money they've made. And yet they lack basic understanding. They can't look at 10 different people, 10 different so-called black people, and tell you none of the differences with them. Right. They have no idea what the fuck is going on. No disrespect. Most of the black people who've dealt with me, right on, I'm talking about like 10 to 12 of the niggas who over the years, who I know, I'm not going to say them all by name. They know who they are. They understand this shit. This is why it gets, they don't have as many interactions with people like they used to. They can't. Because they're starting to see these things more and more and more and more. And the more they see it, the more they realize it. It is kind of scary because you realize you're like Neo when he can see in the code. You know what I'm talking about? I've been saying that shit for years. I've been saying it for years. So that's how even though I see whatever this base level structure is, I look at things and I see genetic code. Right on? I see phenotypes. I see genotypes. I see crossbreeding. I see assimilation, amalgamations. Right on? Come on, man. I even see the inbreeding to a certain degree for certain groups. You know, it's easy to see because their gene pool is so limited, right? Right. Because if you really do come from a certain people, you will look like a certain people. When I go to certain places, like there are certain places I can go in the Midwest, where everybody looks just like me for the most part. Like everybody's, you know, nobody's taller. Like there's some tall niggas here and there, but nobody will really be over 5'10". Most of them will have a beard, afro-like hair, like similar skin tone. Will look. I've been so many places on this earth where I'm like, damn, right on. I told y'all that one time I met the brother that was right across the street at the store, and me and bro was like, we was confused because we was messed up because we both was like, damn, like, yeah, we could be some kin. You know what I'm saying? When I say like, bro could be my biological brother type of shit. We look that much alike. But that's one of those things. I know that's tried when I see it. Right on? I know it. But there's other people who are tried who might got a mother or a father who's not tried, right? So they look a little different. I got cousins. I have first cousins like that. You know what I'm saying? I have first cousins like that who, because they mama's people or their daddy's people was lightly facial hair, they're lightly facial hair. Then I got other first cousins, niggas got beards up to they, you know, all the way up to here. Work? It just depends. But how you blood mix depends on what you get in the end. See what I'm saying? Now, that's just me giving y'all the game at the very end is that if you're going to be a permanent free agent, you need to know what the hell you're up against. Because you fuck around and breed yourself right out of existence. You know how many people didn't think they brought there are a plethora of bloodlines of little branches that have been broken off the tree. Okay? A plethora. Okay? An innumerable amount that have been broken off the tree. Never to be grafted back in or anything like that. It's over. I don't want y'all to be like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want none of my people to be like that. I want your seed to be on the earth forever until there's a perfect person that's produced. Because I do believe that's what we're supposed to do, is to produce a perfect person. But if you're going to run around here and be a cultural permanent free agent, it's going to be difficult for us to get there. Because we can't have a bunch of melding doctrines. They all don't go together. Yes, clay is from the earth. Yes, clay has base metals from the earth within it, but they're not concentrated. It's not meant to be mixed with iron. Iron, yes, does come from the earth. Yes, you can mine iron, but iron is a concentrated metal. Right on? It's a concentrated mineral. Does that make sense? So if you're going to mix things up, you have to expect for things to break or just not work the way you intended them to. That's the facts. All these places with nukes are all no good, but all these places with nukes have all had the Turkic hand placed upon them. Not a single place has not. Einstein was a Turk, y'all. Come on, like put two and two together on what I'm saying. Yes, Einstein's Turk. If he's a Jew, he's a Turk. Right. It's based on understanding like that. You cannot allow yourself to be duped or fooled. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not for you to try to save your brothers who want to be Buddhist, your black sisters who want to be Muslims. Okay? It's not for you to try to save the Nuwabi and the Egyptians. All right? It's not. Or if they want to Hotep, they way to the grave, let them. Let them. It's not your job to save people who are calling themselves conscious. They so conscious that they're not, that they lack basic self-awareness. Let them fall by the wayside. Look out for the people who actually want to do right. Can't make anybody do right. I only ever plead with my people because you're the only people I want to be around in the end. Right. I want to be around nobody else in the end. I don't want to be around anybody else in the end. I want to be around my people. Right on. That's it. I want them to look similar to me. Right. I want them to be my people. You hear what I'm saying? That's all I want to be around. I don't want to be around nobody else. You know, everybody has a different view on that. They think everybody can get along, but you know what's crazy? We've had so much time on this earth, the last 200 years, for everybody to have a chance to get along. Right on? There was ever no need for any world wars, ever. And yet they happened. You feel what I'm saying? So I just feel like for people who want to be troublesome and want to be warlike, let them all be among each other and maybe they'll just kill each other off. You feel what I'm saying? And for people that want to experience and to seek out peace and pursue it, for people who want to live like that, those people should be given that opportunity. And the only way to that is through nuclear proliferation, denuclearization. The whole earth has to be denuclearized. We have to, nobody should have nukes. Nobody. But the only country that won't give them up is the only country give them up for everybody else to give them up. Is it anybody else's guess other than mine why people have failed to connect that Turkic connection with the spirit of the Nephilim? Right on, that evil spirit, the nukes, and how they're the face of problems on the entire earth. There isn't one instance, no, not one thing that goes down and the Turks' dirty little hands are not all over it. With that being said, brothers and sisters, I think I've said enough thus far. I'll try to be back sooner than later. We'll pick back up with the spiritual gumbo. I think I was just I just went too hard on the spiritual gumbo. I think if I upload like that, I might have to record it and upload. We'll see what happens. We'll see, because this was awkward. No interruption to the signal, no nothing. Everything went off without a hitch on a Friday evening at that. Pretty suspicious, but it is what it is. I mean, can't win for losing. Right on. I even think I waited till after Juneteenth. Right on, or it might have been right before Juneteenth. Anyway, the point being that last time I went live, there was a brief interruption that I had to go take care of. When I came back to finish up the video, there was all this confusion. And I tried several times to re-record it. And what was most mind-boggling is that during my second re-recording, I said the most prolific things. And it's okay. Don't worry. Right on. I'm sure they'll clean it up. I'm sure the stuff I was saying, they wanted it to be like that, Jolene. I'm positive. I hope all is well anyway. But still, they did a bang up job of I had said several things, and I'm going to get to the points real quick. One of the most important things, the most important points I had made was that Joe Bell, the it's right here. No need to guess. No, Joe Bell invented, no, excuse me, Jubal, Jubal. He invented the harp and the psaltery. So this is music. I'm pointing this out during the last one, right? And then and Selah, the second wife of Lamech, bore Tobel. He was a smith, a manufacturer both of brass and iron. And what I wanted to point out was that, so you know how in modern history they'll tell you it's the Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, right? And then modern technology, pretty much. Okay. Well, my thing is that this is pre-flood. So this is an individual who was given knowledge of both brass and iron. And I wanted to point out how the only way he was given, or he was a manufacturer of both brass and iron. And I wanted to point out how Azazel more than likely dealt directly with this man. And the reason why I know that these are in the generations of that time is because the harp and the psaltery both use metal, right on, to make the strings. I want to say like the actual twine is like a kind of metal. So, and to do that, you have to be extremely skilled. You know, and the brother who was a manufacturer in brass and iron, I just can't help but to feel like they work together. You get what I mean? They work together, and they were both influenced by the fallen. And I was just pointing out how the Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, all those things all kind of happened all in one. They weren't, because the true Stone Age, we could argue, is when Cain builds the first city. These are things that I spoke on in the last video when they were trying to mess it all up. I talked about the yellow cake earlier, plutonium and uranium. I talked about that briefly. I spoke on that in the last video where I said that the giants, more than likely, their genetic makeup is not regular flesh and blood. Right on? Does that make sense? Even though they're flesh, they're not regular. They're not like a regular person. Contended that maybe a part of their genetic makeup is yellow cake. Maybe a part of the genetic makeup is uranium, plutonium, and the things like that you use to make weapons of mass destruction. Because I've contended before that the Nephilim, the original ones that were 4,500 feet tall, a blast from one of those things, a full-blown power charge from one of them might as well be the equivalent to a nuke. I mean, the destruction from something that large is immeasurable because there's nothing on the earth that big that we could use as a scale, you know. That being said, though, I just thought that there was a lot of underhanded, undermining things that they did to ruin the fathers of my enemies. And we will go back to the scripture here real soon. It's just I need it for people to understand that the permanent free agent doesn't just apply to black people. This is a thing for all people on the earth, Gentiles alike, everybody who's alive and living. Okay, that pays rent or pays some kind of property tax or whatever, a mortgage, a home note. They're all permanent free agents. They just haven't realized it yet. They believe in a loyalty that is fake. Right. They're more loyal to a job than they are to the doctrines they believe in. That's dangerous. Brothers and sisters, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate your time. With that being said, I salute you. I salute you again. And I salute you once more. There's going to come a time in people's lives where they realize that it's all on them. And it's most of the time people are way older. They're in their 50s and 60s, and then they want to take ownership. They want to be, they want to be in command of things now. Do that in your 20s and your 30s to the best of your abilities. Your 40s, right on? Up to the best of your ability. Take command and take control now. Don't wait till you're a older young person or a young old person, okay, to do that. Make it happen. And don't be afraid, because at the end of the day, you're a free agent. You are a permanent free agent. When we die, we go to the earth. They commit us to the earth, hopefully, and then they no longer need us. And that's exactly how the agency on this, that's exactly how it works. So until they need you, they don't. Until they don't need you, they do. Until they don't want you, they do. Until they don't want you, they don't. I mean, they do. You get what I'm saying? So it's all just a matter of whatever the dynamic you're in. And you have to live in that dynamic. You can't be afraid of it. You have to embrace it. Brothers and sisters, man, I would hope that you realize and understand what this is about. If you are afraid to do the things now that you ought do, when it matters the most, you won't do it. And that is the lesson. That is the lesson. Maximize your time as a permanent free agent.